Hello and welcome back to Season 4, Round number 5 of the Formula Super Series, and we're taking on a very distinctly different track here in the Circuit de Nevers MAGNY-COURS in France. Of course, once played host to the French Grand Prix for Formula 1, now playing host to the likes of the World Superbike Championship. And Sophie, this isn't a track we see too terribly often here on iRacing, but it's certainly one that'll be a challenge for these Super Formula machines tonight.
Yes, and if there is anything this track is known for, Jacob, it is surprise winners. Everyone who is above a certain age and has been a motorsports fan can remember the 1999 French Grand Prix, which I believe was won by Heinz-Harald Frentzen in a Jordan. So I think it would be perfectly on trend to see a new and surprise winner out here on the Circuit de MAGNY-COURS.
And we're riding outboard with Titus Sherlock. He's getting some heat into those Yokohama tires, ready to get that Eclipse competition machine up underway. And let's take a look quickly at the point standings as we roll off into round number 5 here. We look, Titus here actually leads the point standings over his teammate Michael Costello. Just 6 points the gap there. Logan Edwards now for Team I5G is in third on 178. You got Jeremy Fairburn in fourth on 159. Tanner DeFabus 122. Chilcutt still holding tough despite missing multiple rounds in the 6th spot. You got last week's winner in Peter Dempsey, or sorry, 2 weeks ago rather, in the 4th round of Peter Dempsey. He sits 7th. You got Byron Daly, league admin Zach Fulm sits in 9th, and Drew Such rounding out the top 10, and then we glance over at those team standings. It's all Eclipse at the top. You got Eclipse Competition on 378, Eclipse Purple on 281, Mayamo Legacy 160, Mayamo Dynasty on 136, tied with another one of their counterparts in PDFR. Turn 3 is on 118. You got Go Squadra on 101, Torque Lab Nexus 98, Such X ABRS on 96, and then Eclipse Academy on 76. And I think we're going to be in for an interesting one here. We had been informed pre-race that there might not be enough fuel in the qualifying setup here tonight to make all 3 laps. We're going to see if that does turn out to indeed be the case, in which drivers are only going to be given, you know, the typical 1 or 2 attempts at a proper flying lap here, as we're still outboard with Titus Sherlock as he navigates the middle portion of this track.
Yes, and this track is incredibly demanding on the drivers, as we see Titus Sherlock and the other competitors here sliding and trying to get the power down through a lot of these tight chicanes. But then there's also a lot of high speed and medium speed technical sections in the middle part of the track as well, along with that final chicane that is so easy to take a little bit too much of the curb.
Yeah, we just came off of that with Titus here. We'll watch this next lap on board with him as he goes provisionally to the pole. 119.029 for the driver of the 311. He's working off through the first sector here. See where he ends up holding off. Logan Edwards goes second with a 19.353.
Yes, and currently Sherlock going through the best passing opportunity on the track, that tight Adelaide hairpin. And then you'll see this section here that Titus is working through now. Very high speed. He's using all of the entry curb, trying to use all the exit curb to really get the car through there at a good clip of speed, to then tighten it down to another hairpin with another set of high-speed corners before it kind of heads out into that last sector to finish off the lap.
Yeah, we watch him navigate kind of the second chicane there, work his way around this right-hander that'll lead ultimately towards the final couple of corners here, including that very tricky, very high-curbed final chicane here. Watch him slow down for the right-hander here, get close to the inside, use curbs on both ends, and here's that chicane. Very heavy usage of the curbs, but this car seems to take that thing with ease. Sherlock will take the provisional pole once again after Fairburn had taken it briefly. 118.763 for the driver of the 311 will stick him provisionally up at the top point on the grid.
Currently, a driver on a flyer is Dakota DeMage, who had some misfortune befall him at Watkins Glen, he's currently heading out through that back sector, about to hit the Adelaide hairpin on his, will be his final flying lap given the setup fuel situation. Takes a little curb, manages to get the power down, and he is now in that tight technical middle section, Jacob. A lot of commitment. One of the things both you and I noticed heavily in that practice session, a lot of people would just get wiggles, a little too much curb, but just unsettle the car and send you off into the gravel or the grass, off into one of those blue and green tire bundles.
Yeah, and that was something we saw particularly in the opening round of the series from Miami with that chicane kind of in the back portion of the track. Certainly something that these cars have been subject to week in and week out in this series. We saw it even last week at Watkins Glen with the opening corner, kind of launching the cars up into the air and hoping you landed before making contact with the outside wall there. And I think that's going to be kind of the, DeMage will go around.
Yeah, DeMage goes around, but it doesn't appear to have counted, unfortunately, because I guess he got the incident point before he crossed the line. The line is really close there to the actual start of the straightaway. It's not quite like a traditional racetrack there. So I was trying to find someone else on a lap for us. Only one I can currently see right now is Gabriel Asseline in the 87 in a throwback Williams livery from the early 90s.
Yeah, I'll take a look back off that car, the Canon machine with the Camel Cigarettes logo, one of many, I believe, 90s liveries that kind of stood out amongst the slew of tobacco-sponsored cars of that era.
Yes, he manages to put in a time, managed to not spin the car, and that's really seemed to have been challenging. I noticed Logan Edwards also had to spin, as well as we saw Dakota DeMage.
Yeah, DeMage has opted to not continue the lap he started on. I'm assuming he actually had clocked onto lap 3 following his spin there, so he's going to be the only car not to get a time in qualifying here, I do believe.
Yes, it will just be Dakota DeMage. Pedro Mojica in the number 14, as well as I believe another driver has a pit start penalty. So for the sprint race, Mojica, I believe, will be starting from the pit lane, but he did qualify and kind of move up his spot on the start line. And we have seen some drivers who've gone from the pits to ultimately getting to that 10th place spot, Jacob, during the sprint race. And that resulted in them starting up front during the feature. There is a grid inversion for the first 10 spots after the sprint race.
Yeah, we've seen Kyle Allen capitalize on that the last couple times out and get put towards the front of the field for the main event. Does kind of help to be able to start at the front of the field and work on holding cars off for a good period of time. He was able to capitalize on some solid finishes after doing so at the likes of Motegi in particular. So we'll certainly see if that plays another factor here, as you've kind of got, the same couple of suspects in the lower portion of the top 10, the likes of a Pedro Mojica, Kyle Allen, a Byron Daly. Certainly a number of drivers that'll maybe be able to capitalize on an invert, launching them up the field and giving them an opportunity to capitalize on a solid finish for the main event here tonight. Still a little over a minute left to go here in qualifying. I'm imagining a number of drivers are going to be out there circulating the track, trying to get an idea of maybe what will happen to these cars over those opening couple of laps. As we've seen kind of time and time again, that these tires take a long while to really hit a proper operating window, to the point where many of them are going to try to stick those tires on as long as they possibly can for the main event.
Yes, speaking of the main event, Jacob, why don't you tell everyone about the fabulous people who allow us to put on that main event?
Yeah, we've got the Virtual Racing School on board for the series. VRS, also known as the Virtual Racing School, is a provider of getting sim racers faster by providing cutting-edge software and high-performance hardware built with insights from both real-life racers and top sim racing professionals. And we have the Sim Racing Warehouse. If you're looking to save money with great prices and no sales tax, the Sim Racing Warehouse is your US-based shop for all your needs. Plus, for a limited time, you could save 5% off with coupon capital SRW House. House is all lowercase, one word there. In the coupon code section on checkout and save even more. Check them out at simracingwh.com. I believe there's a link in the stream description as well. And qualifying will come to a close here, and we'll get the grid ready to go here for the sprint from MAGNY-COURS.
Yes, and before we get underway, just to give everyone an update here for the weather. Looks to be a partly cloudy day, roughly 23 degrees Celsius, which is basically a fairly mild low 70s degree day for you in the Freedom units. Moderate wind coming in from the west. And the track is a 40C, basically 90, high 90 degree track temperature. So tires shouldn't be put under too much stress as everyone is getting lined up and waiting for those start lights.
Yeah, we'll run through the starting grid for the sprint here. We've got none other than Titus Sherlock, current points leader, starting right at the front with a 1:18.763. Alongside him will be teammate Jeremy Fairburn. Tanner DeFabis will line up in the third spot alongside Logan Edwards. Kevin Tomba will line up fifth alongside Michael Costello. You've got Drew Such in seventh alongside Nate Siefker, Matthew McComish, Byron Daly, Kyle Allen, Pedro Mojica. We're about ready to go here.
Green flag, green flag.
We are underway. Titus Sherlock gets a decent launch. Logan Edwards, unfortunately, had a poor launch. He's getting swarmed. Pinched down tight on the inside, but someone's off. Someone's off and around.
I believe that's going to be, oh no, Cody Claiborne's coming out from the pit lane.
I believe it was Tanner DeFabis. It was one of the Eclipse cars I saw. Looks like just cold tires had a wiggle, went off into the grass. Managed to keep it there. Several other cars went off with him in sympathy. Tough start for one of the Eclipse competition cars.
Now we're back to the front of the field as Titus Sherlock is having to hold off Drew Such. Such got a fantastic start here as Costello and Fairburn are banging wheels through the left-hander there.
Yes, and now Kevin Tomba's under fire from Logan Edwards as they're coming to that high commitment zone. Logan, discretion, better part of valor for the i5G driver. He backs out of it, gets a giga run though. Again, nothing to do with it. Looks like, again, another Eclipse car up front. Looks to be Jeremy Fairburn this time running into a spot of bother. And he gives up the position to his teammate and Michael Costello.
Costello, Fairburn, Edwards, Tomba, Daly, Allen, McComish, and Mojica rounding out that top 10. You got Such and Sherlock kind of on an island all their own for the time being.
I'll now go through the gravel from the opening corner incidents. There is an overtake system as we see Michael Costello go onto the button. That is a system that gives you a set amount of time to use for the overtake, but it needs, I believe, a full minute or so to recharge. So you can't just mash the button like you would in, say, the IR-18.
Yeah, the cooldown on that 100 seconds. That means Costello's going to be without that system for at least the next full lap here as they ride around the left-hander here and start chasing their way towards that next chicane. And I think the big thing we're going to see with this track is that run down into that Adelaide hairpin, kind of in the opening portion of the lap, going to be a prime overtaking opportunity for drivers using that overtake system. Oh, yes, Such is around.
I was about to comment that Sherlock had opened up a massive gap on Such, and I guess it started to get into Such's head, and he makes a mistake. He goes around. He's now going to fall to the likes of Matthew McCormish, currently running 8th. He goes wide, gives his spot right back to Such.
Yeah, Such will recover in 8th here. He'll be leading kind of the train all the way back to, I believe that's going to be Matt Schlosser in the 13th spot. Currently working the 12th minute as we go back to Titus Sherlock. He's built a gap of almost 3 seconds over his teammate Michael Costello, who runs along in 2nd. He's got to train of his teammate and Jeremy Fairburn, the likes of Logan Edwards and Kevin Tomba. Byron Daly kind of rounding out the gaggle of cars they've got up in the 6th spot. Tanner DeFavis has recovered to 7th following an early off for him. And then Such, we saw his error. He runs 8th. Barrett Wolf, Matthew McComish rounding out the top 10.
That's right now the gap at the front between Sherlock and Costello looking to be a 3-second gap between teammates. This is a fixed setup series, so Sherlock clearly has this place figured out compared to everyone else, putting on a clinic right now. Costello does need to be honest here a little bit because he's got Jeremy Fairburn not too far behind, and then the i5G driver of Logan Edwards in 4th. Kevin Tomba, who's had some tough luck this season, currently watching from 5th. A good run so far from the Swiss driver.
Yeah, we saw a bit of a wiggle for Costello off that final chicane, but he manages to hold on to it. Let's kind of get a look at the gaps between the cars now as we've kind of settled into a bit better of a rhythm here. Costello's got a little under 3/4 of a second over his teammate Jeremy Fairburn for 2nd spot here. Then you got about another 0.6 between Fairburn and Edwards, and that's kind of about the gap between every other car through the field here. Closest battle on track is going to be Byron Daly and Tanner DeFavis. I believe DeFavis went the fastest that last time by.
Yes, and DeFavis is sending it on the inside of Daly into that second hairpin in the middle sector of the track. Makes the move stick. Move him out to 6th place. He's now going to try and make work of Kevin Tomba as they head through that fast chicane there.
Yeah, DeFavis makes the move. He'll recover to the 6th spot as it stands. He'll be looking to hunt down Mr. Tomba up ahead for the bottom portion of the top 5. Another driver I'm seeing fall down the order is League Administrator Zach Falm. He started kind of in the middle portion of the fields, now fallen to 19th, 20th place
yes,
now.
he had a little spin in the middle sector, Jacob. Just caught a little too much curb and looked to be like a fairly harmless spin other than obviously the position loss. Right now, Drew Such is trying to recover. He has Barrett Wolf, though, all over the back of him. Barrett Wolf has the draft. Oh, they make contact! Netcode forgives the contact for Barrett Wolf.
Yeah, Such had a big wiggle through the grass there as well.
Yes, and he managed to hold on. And they're going to make contact again. It looks like this time the wing is broken for Barrett Wolf.
Ooh. Is that that's gonna be McComish making contact with the back of Barrett Wolf. He'll fall down the order to 12th now.
Yes, but it looks to be no damage. Actually, he didn't make contact, Jacob. He just got loose putting the power down through that tight sector.
Yeah, and with as torquey as this SF23 is, that's a very easy thing to do, especially given how many low-speed corners are around this track in MAGNY-COURS. We watch McComish navigate that final chicane with a slew of cars ahead as Drew Such is trying to hold off Barrett Wolf for all he possibly can here.
Yes, and at the front is still Titus Sherlock. 3 seconds ahead as we're approaching the halfway point in this sprint race. It's a 15-minute sprint race. So once again, your rundown: Titus Sherlock, Michael Costello, Jeremy Fairburn, Logan Edwards, Kevin Tomba are your top 5. Oh, looks to me like there was a little bit of a kerfuffle for Kyle Allen there, nearly getting in the back of Drew Such into the Adelaide hairpin.
Yeah, it's a very, very tight braking zone there as Such is under fire from Matt Schlosser briefly there. Heading into that second hairpin, they'll navigate towards the chicane that kind of concludes this straight here. See the cars bouncing back and forth as they hit the curbs on either side. Sherlock will go purple 119.918. That's the first driver to break into the 19-second bracket in the sprint race here tonight.
Right now, that fight with Such is the closest battle on track between Such, Schlosser, and Kyle Allen, Barrett Wolf. Throw those cars under a blanket. Zach Falm has run into even more trouble. What has happened to League Administrator?
See if we can get that one on the replays here. Hop back a little while back here. So he's navigating the chicane here. Grabs a bunch of curb on the right. Decent bit of curb on the left there. Is this going to be maybe similar to what we saw with Such earlier as he navigates this second hairpin here?
Yeah, it looks to me it also took out Dakota DeMage in one of the Uma Musume cars. Both of those cars make it to pit lane. Tough sprint race for them, but they get a chance to re-rack and reset for the feature.
Yeah, it looks like...
Jared Wolf is now tumbling down the order as well, Jacob.
Yeah, Zach Falm had a similar incident to the likes of Such earlier on. Barrett Wolf, he falls down the order. Obviously came with a bit of a tangle with Drew Such earlier, battling for position earlier on. He'll fall down the order to 13th now. Looking to maybe try to pass Gabriel Aselian back for the 12th spot.
Another battle developing on track. Kevin Tomba is under a lot of fire from Tanner DeFavis. Tanner DeFavis has it on the inside line here to move the 48 car back to 6. However, he's not done. He's still looking on the outside into the Adelaide hairpin. He's going to be on the preferred line. Takes it deep into the corner, but it's going to be DeFavis that gets the power down. DeFavis has the position for good now. He is clear. So make it where it is all Eclipse at the front, minus the car in 4th of Logan Edwards in that 09 i5G machine.
Logan Edwards, the lone man out, not driving one of those purple Eclipse machines. Actually, his car might be purple as well. It's just not, it doesn't have the team, the Eclipse competition branding on it. He's got a white to purple fade on that 09 machine for i5G. Runs along in 4th. We'll hop back to the battle for the 9th, 10th, 11th range as Matthew McComish has made it up to the 9th spot ahead of Drew Such. He's kind of survived the RG-Bargy here.
Yes, and speaking of that RG-Bargy, Barrett Wolf, who's already had contact with Such, had some weird netcode issues with Tony Raval. Both cars are done and out of the race, where they seem to merge into each other and then got damaged from the incident. So that takes those two out of the equation. So now it's going to be Drew Such, Kyle Allen, and, of course, Gabriel Asseline.
Yeah,
Matthew McCormish is streaking away from that group.
We get back on the replay here. It took us a second to get the cameras wound back. You've got Barrett Wolf alongside another machine here heading down the straightaway towards, I believe, the Adelaide hairpin. And you're going to see the cars basically merge together here. They're going to make slight contact before that rumble strip there. And then you're going to see the cars start to fade over to the right, and they end up kind of glued together before the straight ends here. Yeah, there it is. They'll wind up glued, and then they merge together, and Barrett Wolf's going to get sent off into the grass, and the car to the inside of him is going to lose a tire, and they're going to collide in very bizarre fashion. I believe that's going to be Tommy Ruval, just narrowly missing the back of that Williams throwback scheme. Very bizarre set of events there.
Yes, and at the front, Michael Costello is coming under fire from his teammate Jeremy Fairbairn. So that is currently a fight over the second position. Jeremy Fairbairn seems to have the latter half of the track figured out really well compared to Costello. Managed to close up, but Costello had a good first sector. And now it's on to that long back straightaway into the Adelaide hairpin that Fairbairn closes back up again. Meanwhile, their teammate who's in the lead is long gone, 5 seconds up the road for Titus Sherlock in the 311 machine, currently your leader.
Yeah, he got the clean getaway at the front of the field after starting on the pole here. With just a little over 2 minutes left to go. It's going to be very unlikely that anybody's able to reel him back in, as that gap's over 5 seconds, depending on where you catch these cars on track.
Yes, and once again, we see Fairbairn catching up just that little bit through that final sector. Just only 3/10 behind Costello. It's so hard to get those last few tenths and set up a run here. Passing is at a premium. We've seen some great moves from the likes of Tanner DeFabis here earlier.
Well, Sherlock's...
Go ahead, Jacob.
Sherlock's not backing down. He'll go purple again with a 119.658. He's been the only driver to crack into that 119 bracket all night long. So he's found something here tonight that even his teammates haven't been able to pick up on just yet. So it's going to be interesting to see him charge his way back through the field following the invert in the feature tonight.
Yes, and oh, what is this? Drew Such is out. Such is out, Jacob.
We'll have to see what happened to him. Of course, number of tangles for Such tonight. This one ultimately ends his night. We'll see if we can find what happened to him. So I believe we're heading down towards the... Oh! I believe that's going to be Kyle Allen making contact with Such heading into that second hairpin.
Yes, and it just folds all the suspension. First the rear, and then the front just fails as well in sympathy. And that just sends him to the outside of the track with 2 wheels on his wagon.
He'll have to park it and tow it, and that'll be done for Drew Such. Another tough break for the driver, the 28. So we catch Titus Sherlock crossing the line here for the white flag. Gap almost 6 seconds over Michael Costello in second. That battle for second, though, rages on between Costello and Fairburn. Logan Edwards is right there as well.
Yeah, they're currently going through Estoril right now. That long sweeping corner leading onto that back straightaway. Costello got a better run out of it, and now Logan Edwards is in the draft, possibly trying to make it around the outside into the Adelaide hairpin. Can't quite get it done. And look who is sneaking into the picture there. That's Tanner DeFabis. After going through the gravel on lap 1, Tanner DeFabis has gotten to the very tail of this group. Oh! Oh, Costello's around! Logan through goes Edwards! Through goes Edwards because Jeremy Fairburn, who has front wing damage, tagged his own teammate, spun him around. Logan Edwards goes from 4th to 2nd on the last lap because teammates touch.
Yeah, rule number 1 is don't wreck your teammates, and rule number 2 is see rule 1, and that, unfortunately, late in the going here is going to catch those Eclipse machines out, and Logan Edwards is there to capitalize for what will be a solid run for him as he'll finish second to Titus Sherlock. The gap there, 7.4 seconds across the line.
Yes, to be a fly on the wall in those discos. Jeremy Fairburn just punches out.
We'll watch.
Jeremy Fairburn just punches out in frustration. Costello ultimately fell down to 6th after that spin. So, with your results in the sprint race, Jacob, it's Titus Sherlock is your winner. He's going to get full points for the sprint, and he'll start 10th in the feature. Then it's Logan Edwards coming home in P2 after that shock moment. Jeremy Fairburn comes home P3. Tanner DeFabis, after his troubles on the first lap, climbs back up to 4th. Kevin Tomba is in 5th. Michael Costello comes home in 6th. Byron Daly is in 7th. Matthew McCormish in 8th. Matt Schlosser comes home in 9th. Kyle Allen, once again in 10th, will be on the reverse grid pole after that contact with Drew Such. Then Nate Seifert in 11th. Gabriel Osseline in 12th. Pedro Mojica will come home in 13th. Cody Claiborne, after starting in the pit lane, comes home P14. Nick Gaillot in P15. Drew Such, Barrett Wolf, Tommy Raval, Zach Fallman, Dakota DeMaja are your retirements from the sprint race. What an action-packed 15 minutes, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll certainly see another action-packed main event to be certain. And before we get to that, we'll thank series sponsors VRS and the Sim Racing Warehouse and provide their messaging here. VRS helps sim racers get faster by providing cutting-edge software and high-performance hardware built with insights from both real-life racers and top sim racing professionals. I believe you can check them out at vrs.racing or vrs.racing/shop for their hardware store. Then you've got the Sim Racing Warehouse. If you're looking to save money with great prices and no sales tax, the Sim Racing Warehouse is your U.S.-based shop for all your needs. Plus, for a limited time, you could save with a 5% off coupon code. Just type in capital SRW House. House is all lowercase. That's all one word. In the coupon code section on checkout and save even more, check them out at simracingwh.com, where I believe there will be a link in the stream description. Amidst all that chaos, we had Matt Wagner, Horizon IndyCar Series admin, chime in and said he wasn't too bad at this track, and it's certainly a tricky one, but one if you could kind of put the pieces together, it's a very satisfying one to put together here at MAGNY-COURS.
Yes, Jacob, currently we are in the warm-up session for everyone before the race. Give themselves a chance to catch a breath after the excitement of that sprint race. The late race drama between the Eclipse competition drivers. Once again, a reminder of the rules here. So there was a grid inversion for the first 10 spots at the end of the sprint race. So it will be Kyle Allen on pole for the feature. During the feature, there is a mandatory pit stop that can only happen after 10 minutes in the race. Or, sorry, 10 laps in the race, 20 minutes into the race, whichever comes first. And they are required to change tires. They can do it at any point other than the absolute white flag lap to prevent any Schumacher-Silverstone era antics. And yeah, they can take that at their discretion. It's changed. The strategy has changed from track to track. There is a wide pace spread, it seems, here. So traffic will be a factor in the decision of when to pit, Jacob.
Yeah, we've seen that kind of play out a number of different ways over the course of this season. Of course, last time out, all those Eclipse cars came down at around the same time behind the likes of Logan Edwards, who attempted the undercut, and ultimately Edwards kind of fell by the wayside as those machines started cooperating with each other and were able to draft their way back up to the front of the field. Ultimately, Peter Dempsey coming out on top of the main event. So we'll see kind of what strategy prevails here. I think the big thing, the big question mark here is, can anybody hang with Titus Sherlock? Should Sherlock be able to scythe his way through from the 10th grid spot?
Yes, and we have seen that fairly often from those Eclipse drivers, Jacob. They have just like carved their way through the field like it was nothing. It has been incredibly rare for the pole sitter in the feature to even be leading the race at the end of the first lap. They often aren't even leading into turn number one. So Kyle Allen hoping to have a better start. Same thing with Matt Schlosser, Matthew McCormish, who will be your top three as we are winding down here in the 5-minute warm-up. Another reminder, there is points based off divisions. There's most of the drivers you see on your screen, if they have a P next to their name, all of those are pros. There are a few, Tommy Raval and Kyle Allen, who have an A next to their name. Those are the amateur division drivers. And there'll be an amateur leading the field once the lights go out.
Just a handful of moments left to go here before this warm-up session ends. And we'll get gridded up for the main event here tonight. Challenging track, saw many drivers be challenged. They challenged each other around here. We'll see how that kind of bleeds over into this main event in just a couple moments' time, as we're about ready to get gridded up here for the main event.
Yes, and speaking of that grid, Jacob, while they are forming up, let's run down through the starting lineup for this feature before the lights go out. We've got the 999 machine of Kyle Allen, who will be the reverse grid pole sitter, followed by Matt Schlosser in the 400. Matthew McCormish, representing Great Britain, will be third. Byron Daly fourth. Michael Costello in the fifth spot. Kevin Tomba in sixth. Tanner DeFavis in seventh. Jeremy Fairbairn, after that troubles, starts in eighth. Logan Edwards for I5G starts in ninth. Titus Sherlock, after winning the sprint, will start in 10th. Then it'll be Nate Seifgert, as well as Gabriel Osseline in 12th. Pedro Mojica in 13th. Cody Claiborne in 14th. In 15th, it'll be Nick Gayotte. 16th, Drew Such after the contact with Kyle Allen in the sprint race. He'll be starting in the back of the field, along with Barrett Wolf, who also had some interesting troubles with Tony Reval. They will both be starting next to each other in 17th and 18th. Zach Fallman 19th, Dakota Mason 20th, and we are underway. Kyle Allen gets a decent start this time, but it's Matthew Schlosser who has the trouble getting away. McCormick jumps up in the second. Daly jumps them. Costello is also around him. Kevin Tomba. Schlosser is just falling down the order right now, as he is currently got Jeremy Fairburn on his trail. Tanner Favis has already worked his way around. There's a big Eclipse draft train that's ready to pass Schlosser.
Yeah, they're lined up. Oh,
massive contact in the Adelaide hairpin. Several cars around. Tomba, Favis.
Caution, yellow flag.
We are under yellow here at MAGNY-COURS.
yeah, that's Tomba, DeFabis, and Titus Sherlock all out in one fell swoop there. We'll get a look.
Yeah, so that's your points leader.
Yeah. Winner of the sprint, points leader. We'll get the cameras wound back and see exactly how that started. Actually, we've got the cameras wound back a little too close to the incident here. We're watching those cars navigate the back straightaway here. We're riding outboard with Titus Sherlock, who's at the back of this train here, heading off into the Adelaide hairpin. You see them all start to slowly compact as they get to the end of the straight here. You'll see DeFabis kind of the meat in the sandwich here.
Yes, it looks like one of the Eclipse cars hit the back of the other that launched them into Tomba. Tomba goes around with no rear wheel, and then Schlosser manages to snake his way through. Daly goes around. Edwards, critically, as your third in points, makes it through. Barrett Wolf loses a front wing, it seems. A lot of contact for a lot of drivers, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll try to ride on board with Titus Sherlock here real quickly. Get a view of what he sees heading off of the corner here. So you see he's up on the overtake system, trying to make a move here, heading towards that hairpin. He's going to kind of slot in between his teammate on the right there. I believe that's going to be Costello. And then you've got DeFabis down the road, and I think Titus just misjudged the gap opening there and collides with DeFabis, and then everybody kind of piles in after that. And we're under yellow here for the third week in a row. Very, very interesting turn of events here, as we thought maybe we were going to survive lap one, no issue for both events tonight, but unfortunately we're back behind the pace car, the very fancy BMW pace car at that. Look at that thing absolutely lighting up the front of this field as they parade around here. We'll get another lap under the pace car here and likely go green the next time around. And
yes, and interestingly, Jacob, I believe that restart is going to be in that very tight chicane, and in cars that are very tricky to get the power down. This might not be over, Jacob.
Well, and let's give a shout out to Kyle Allen. That was probably the best launch we've seen out of him in the feature event. He's been on the pole, I believe, 3 times now following the invert, and that seemed to be the first time he was able to properly maximize that launch given his competition behind him. Obviously, the P2 starter didn't get quite as good of one and fell down the order, and I believe Matthew Schlosser fell all the way down to 9th in the opening couple of corners there following the...
Yes, and
Go ahead, Sophie.
One of the things I noticed here, Jacob, Bear Wolf has no front wing. He has not come in to replace it. Now, again, with the rule change, he can't change tires and have that count towards his pit stop, but you've got no front wing at MAGNY-COURS. You're going to be in for a long lap, so we'll see if he comes in. I believe also Pedro Mojica has a damaged front wing. This is a great time to get it replaced because you're not going to lose that much time. You can catch back up to everybody. So we'll see if they pit. Jacob, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. It looks like, yeah, we've got a bit of a crinkle on the left front of the wing for the number 14 of Pedro Mojica. They're navigating towards the final couple of corners here. We'll see if either Mojica or Wolf opt to come in for repairs here. field slows heading towards those final couple of corners here. Obviously, very slow speed for the pace car to navigate around.
Yes, and we see Barrett Wolf. Barrett Wolf goes in, so does Mojica. They take advantage of this chance to get their damage repaired. Lights are out on the BMW safety car, Jacob, and if I'm one of the remaining Eclipse drivers, I'm going to be giving each other extra space because Costello and Fairburn, they have already touched each other in the sprint race, and there was the other two teammates this time who came to heads here. I am sure there are some interesting conversations being had right now.
Yeah, we'll take another glance at the point standings coming into the event tonight. Sherlock was leading 6 points over Costello, and with Costello being left out there ahead of Jeremy Fairburn, that's going to give them an opportunity to close in on their teammate in Mr. Sherlock. Logan Edwards out there as well, sits third in points coming into the event. He'll get an opportunity to capitalize as well, and it'll be the night of what could have been for Titus Sherlock, just following a very, very tight, close incident heading off into that Adelaide hairpin on the opening lap here.
Yes, and the big winner from that was Nate Seifkert, who started 11th, made up 6 spots because of that contact, and he's ahead of Logan Edwards. Logan Edwards is probably going to want to try and make short work of Seifkert so that he can chase down the 2 Eclipse cars that he's in direct competition with. As we're currently working through the Adelaide hairpin, so we've still got a little bit to go in this final pace lap.
A ways to go here as we kind of reach the middle portion of the lap here following that Adelaide hairpin, heading towards another hairpin at the other end of this straight. You see Jeremy Fairburn weaving back and forth there, trying to get some heat into those Yokohama tires. He'll get joined by Seifker and McComish. And this will be interesting to see how this restart plays out, given it's going to occur kind of right coming through that final chicane.
Yes, and that was the realization dawning on me, Jacob. It's as close as you can come to a standing start when you're doing a rolling start with how tight that chicane is, and you won't be able to carry the speed you'll need to use the downforce of the wings to help you carry speed, so it'll be even trickier to get the power down.
Yeah, the wings will not be at their best in those very slow speed corners, especially coming right out from behind the safety car here. And that'll be kind of the big story heading on to this restart here, is who's going to be able to get the power down and rolling forward. Obviously, we didn't even get a full lap of running yet. So drivers haven't been given a ton of opportunity to get some proper heat into those Yokohama tires. So that'll be the challenge here. Allen had a good standing launch. Maybe he can reproduce that here as we roll into the final sector here, getting ready to go back under green.
Yes, and tick, tick, tick. It is 8 minutes down in this race. So Kyle Allen basically in a position where he has controlled the early part of the race because the safety car has. The safety car is going to be tucking off of the racetrack now. In control of the amateur is the field. Kyle Allen goes. Green flag back in the air. Looks to be clean through the field as they head down towards the first turn.
Allen leading McComish, leading Costello. Costello's looking to the inside of McComish already as they head down towards the Adelaide hairpin. That'll move Costello up to the second spot. His teammate Jeremy Fairburn will look to the inside on McComish into the hairpin as well. Big
Costello
launch.
Goes for a big lunge. Yeah. Allen gives plenty of space for that late move by Costello. And Costello is out in front. Kyle Allen relegated back to second. Cinderella story already delayed here. And Logan Edwards has failed to get around Nate Seifkert.
Yeah, he kind of...
That will be critical for the points race.
Yeah, he trails the lead couple of cars here as Costello starts to pull away, as Kyle Allen's managed to hold on to second for the time being. I'm imagining that Fairburn's going to get another shot at it heading into the Adelaide hairpin the next time around.
Yes, they're currently heading into another braking zone here, but not close enough is Jeremy Fairburn. They're now winding their way through the tight chicane here. Oh, McCormick's around! McCormick's around!
Multiple cars involved now, as I believe that's going to be another Eclipse machine around.
Yeah, no, that's Cody Claiborne. Claiborne. And then Schlosser as well. No caution. Thankfully, no caution. We're still underway here. Everything is spread out. Kyle Allen has been relegated to third during that chaos. And now it has Seifert behind him. Logan Edwards is drifting a little bit farther off of Seifert and sits in the 5th spot now.
Yeah, McComish will go around. That'll promote everybody behind him up a spot as he'll fall to 15th now. We've got 16 cars still on the lead lap here as Matt Schlosser is in the pit lane. I believe he opted to park or tow his vehicle. Oh! Oh, no! Costello went around, and Kyle Allen got left with nowhere to go as Costello tried to rejoin.
Wow, what a bizarre turn of events right here. Costello has massive wheel damage. That wheel is not pointed where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, we're watching.
Allen continues on, probably because he just has aero damage. He's might as well just wait now because he has to go into pit and won't be able to till lap 10.
Yeah, here comes Costello.
That's another Eclipse machine.
Yeah, Costello into that right-hander, and that's the third car we've seen go wide in that section and spin it. He'll get locked down here, and that'll let Fairburn on through, but he's trying to get on the power right into the path of Kyle Allen. Allen loses the front wing and the nose cone on that SF23. And that's just a very, very bizarre turn of events for the leader of this race.
Yeah, and what is just a heartbreak for Kyle Allen. He did such a good job at the start, did such a good job to hold on to those positions, and just ultimately to have that issue. But again, you know who is smiling in his virtual helmet right now? It is Logan Edwards, because his 2 championship rivals, they are out of this race as it stands right now. Maybe Costello can get back into the race, but he has wheel damage. That's going to put him several laps down. If Logan Edwards can just hold it all together, he's going to have a nice points haul.
Well, the other thing,
and
too...
Logan Edwards goes purple.
Yeah.
Logan Edwards goes purple. He's not just going to, I'm going to settle for a nice podium finish. He wants the whole deal.
Well, and the other thing, too, is Jeremy Fairburn's kind of in that points picture, too. Kind of lingering on the outside in the 4th spot, if I recall correctly. So if he can win this event, that'll give him a close on his Eclipse teammates. Likewise to Edwards, as Edwards will look to the inside off the Adelaide hairpin here, not able to get the power down quite as good as Seifert on the outside here. And let's take a look maybe a bit deeper in the field here, as I've got the battle for the 9th spot with Goyette and Mojica. Mojica closed in very close into the hairpin that last time around.
Yeah, that hairpin really invites some bravery on the brakes. And Costello has ejected from the server. He is done. So right now it's only one Eclipse car carrying the torch. As Mojica now has a massive run on Goyette as they head in that high commitment corner, decides to think better of it. And Goyette will have a reprieve.
Move up to Byron Daly and Barrett Wolf as Wolf will look to the inside here. Take the spot.
Yeah, what a lucky break for both Daly and Wolf that was a full course caution, because Wolf was missing a front wing and Daly was pointed the wrong direction. Both of them were able to use that bunching up the field to recover and possibly secure themselves a much better result.
Yeah, they're battling here down the back straightaway here, off into the Adelaide hairpin. Daly will look to the outside here on Wolf. Backs out of it.
He backs out of it. And up at the front, Logan Edwards is caught back up to Nate Seifert. as well. So there's a fight brewing over P2, as well as a fight over P4 between Drew Such and Tommy Raval. Tommy Raval, another big winner out of this because he's the only other amateur. The sprint race doesn't pay anywhere near as much as the feature. Right now, he is looking at a top 5 for Tommy Raval, the Argentine driver, currently sitting in P5.
Let's actually hop and look back at Raval as he's hunting down Drew Such for the 4th spot. He's been hanging a pretty even keel here. If we look at where he's at, he started deep in the field, 18th. He's worked his way up to 5th here, following the opening carnage, as we've got 14 cars still circulating out on the track. And he'll get in a nice sizable haul in the point standings if he can hold on to this 5th place spot.
Further back into the field, Zach Falm currently being passed by Nick Goyot. Possibly Mojica and McCormick. Oh, wow! Massive lockup from McCormick. He takes out Goyot and forces Falm to run all the way wide. Damage for McCormick. Massive lockup. Completely tangles with Goyot.
Yeah, we'll watch McComish just run down into that Adelaide hairpin. That's been the action zone. We saw Tommy Raval make the pass on Drew Such for a brief moment there earlier on.
Yes, and he's still out in front of Such. Oh, wait, sorry. No, sorry. He is not. Sorry. He is on the tail of Such, not around Such.
Yeah, so here comes McComish to the inside of the 12 machine. That's going to be Nick Goyot. And they'll tangle and stop. And then you've got the 20 of Falm trying to navigate around them. He'll sneak to the outside there as McComish gets back underway. And that's just a late lunge on the brakes. And, you know, the cars behind are going to capitalize that, and they're going to have to regather their marbles.
Yes. Yes, and pits are now open for everyone to make their pit stops as they have hit lap 10. Another thing I wanted to note, the big winner in that round of chaos was Pedro Mojica. Moved the Puerto Rican driver up the order after that round of Adelaide calamity.
Tommy Raval was under a big lunge from Drew Such into that second hairpin just moments ago. He's trying his darndest to hang tough in the 4th spot here, and props to him, as I believe this is the first appearance we've seen from him this season, and he's making stuff happen here in a very stout field of drivers in this SF23.
Yes, and a lot of the keys to success is just being very cautious. He's taking very smooth lines, not taking big risks, and has kept himself out of trouble. And that's been a tall order, as it seems everyone has run into a spot of bother at some point.
Yeah, let's kind of run back through the field here as we've got a bit of a moment of calm here. Here's Jeremy Fairburn. He leads Nate Siefker by a little over 2 seconds. Siefker in 2nd, ahead of Logan Edwards in the i5G machine in 3rd. You got to go way back to catch Drew Such rolling along in 4th. Tommy Raval has fallen back to 5th. You've got Barrett Wolf and Byron Daly behind them in fairly close contact. Then you've got another large gap between Daly and Mojica. That's about 7 seconds between 7th and 8th. Zach Falm 2 seconds adrift of Mojica following the argy-bargy through the Adelaide hairpin just a lap ago. McComish, he cruises along in 10th following the stoppage. Gabriel Lassellian in 11th. You got Dakota DeMage in 12th. Kyle Allen, after starting on the pole in the feature event, is 13th, and Nick Goyot is the last car still out on the course, 1 lap down in 14th.
Yes, and Logan Edwards has gone purple with a 19.970. Now, Jeremy Fairburn had also gone into the 19s earlier, but had an off-track or something in the lap where it wasn't registering as the fastest lap of the race.
Caleb Brashear, teammate at I5G for Logan Edwards, chiming in. Saito by Saito. That is indeed many of things that has happened tonight. We've seen cars get very, very close together, especially heading off into that Adelaide hairpin. Seems to be the prime passing opportunity we figured it would be, given just how long the run down to it is, especially with that overtake system in play.
Yes, and just that heavy braking zone and the dynamic braking zones of those two hairpins, the Adelaide hairpin and then the one in the middle sector, really seems to be catching a lot of these drivers out. Their eyes getting a little bit too big for their stomach or more for their brake pedal. As once again, Tommy Raval has gotten around Drew Such to move Raval back up to fourth. And that is kind of, that back and forth is pulling Barrett Wolf and Byron Daly to them.
It's as I always like to say, it only takes two cars to make a race, and Raval and Such are showing that in full force here, battling back and forth for the fourth spot. Edwards.
And right now, Logan Edwards has a run on Nate Seifert, not able to do it into the Adelaide hairpin.
Almost looked like he was going to try a crossover there.
No, but he might try to move into the next hairpin because he is all over the back of Seifert.
And let's actually ride on board with Edwards as he tries to hunt down that two machine of Nate Seifert. Get a look and see what these drivers are seeing around the course here. There we go. Logan Edwards hunting down Seifert for the second spot.
Yes, and both of them currently are a little bit faster than Fairburn. Logan Edwards still has the fastest lap of the race, the 1:19.7. 6.2, just faster, or sorry, 5.2, just faster than the lap that Nate Seifert that lap. So those two are flying. Logan Edwards chooses to pit and pit early.
Yeah, so it'll move him down the order.
Kyle
for
Allen
a
has a
time.
meatball. Kyle Allen has a meatball. His car doesn't look too bad to me. Perhaps some suspension damage or something for Allen, but he has a meatball. Looks to be crabbing slightly, so maybe had some contact with someone else.
Move back to the battle that has now become the fourth spot between Barrett Wolf and Byron Daly. They're still going back and forth as Drew Such has been left on an island all on his own.
Yes, and I just watched the replay. It was a massive net code between the passing cars of Edwards and Seifert that caused damage to Allen. So Allen looks to be out of the race. Tommy Raval going to have a massive points haul in the amateur points standings, as he is currently running in 10th after pitting, taking the same strategy as Logan Edwards.
Yeah, and after all that, Edwards cycles out in the 6th spot ahead of Matthew McComish. So that might be a good opportunity for him to maybe leapfrog Seifert as they were kind of stacked on top of each other. We'll see if maybe Seifert comes down in the next couple of laps to figure out his tire situation. But Edwards and Raval among the first to hit the pit lane when the lane is open, as we've got a little over 15 or 16 minutes to go here.
Yeah, we have just gone past the halfway point here, so Logan Edwards should have nice warm tires in a lap or so. He should be able to start clicking off those fast laps. I'll be curious to see if Seifert or Fairburn respond in any way to that development.
Yeah, Fairburn was lapping a little slower than the likes of Seifert and Edwards, but had the gap advantage kind of just through being at the front, able to capitalize through the carnage and work his way to the front of the field. As Barrett Wolf slowly starting to reel in Drew Such for that 3rd spot, as he's walked slowly away, rather, from Byron Daly in 5th. Logan Edwards sits about 5 seconds adrift of that group. He's the first car to have pit. We'll see if he can work his way further up the field as Seifert and Fairburn, his biggest competition, have yet to come down.
Yes, and Logan Edwards currently running in 6th. just 5 seconds behind Byron Daly, so he has a good stretch of clean track to work from to try and get track position.
Yeah, let's hop back to maybe the lower positions in the top 10 here. Zach Falms worked his way to the 8th spot as it stands. We've got 12 cars still circulating the track, down to Pedro Mojica in 12th.
Yes, and Fahm is currently working over Matthew McCormish. McCormish has that damaged front wing. Remember, Fahm had to run wide to avoid the contact that McCormish had here at the Adelaide hairpin. Oh, massive lockup for Fahm. He manages to avoid everyone, get it woed up. No harm, no foul, but that's surely a code brown for everyone involved in that situation.
Yeah, he was lucky to catch that before it happened. Maybe just missed his brake marker and just shot it straight to the inside of the track, locked it down, kept rolling. Close call for Falm and McComish there. He'll have to regather his stuff to work his way forward as Nate Siefker goes purple with a 1:19.357.
Yes, I've been looking at the lap times. Logan Edwards' tires have not really come into their own right now. 1:20.3 his last lap. Just curious to see what the stopwatch says as he comes across the line. 1:20.1. He is almost a full second behind the pace of Siefker and just a few tenths behind the speed of Fairburn.
And Barrett Wolf has properly caught Drew Such and has put him under attack as they navigate towards that Adelaide hairpin. Wolf on the outside, Such on the inside, and Byron Daly's right there with them as they battle for third.
Yes, right now, if I am Drew Such, I am nervously glancing up in my mirrors as I'm also trying to make sure I hit every apex, take advantage of every braking zone. See all of the different lines everyone's running. Such gets a bad run through that hairpin, and that kind of ended up checking up Barrett Wolf, even though he got a better exit because he had nothing he could do with it.
Yeah, just a very, very tricky track to set up a pass around, barring that long back straightaway here as the field.
Fairburn's on the pit lane.
That'll be the leader of the field blinking. That'll put Siefker in control as Byron, that's going to be Barrett Wolf rather. Big moment as they head down. Maybe he opts to come down the pit lane, as does Byron Daly. Drew Such, the last of that battle, staying out.
Yes, and Fairburn's going to come out right behind Such.
Yeah, there's the commit line, or rather the exit line for the pit lane. Such will come out ahead of Fairburn. Logan Edwards about 10 seconds adrift there. We'll see if he can slowly work his way back forward as tires come up to temperature here.
Yes, and so right now Fairburn waiting for those tires to come up to temperature. Edwards working his way through the Adelaide hairpin now while they're entering in that second hairpin. So there's a good bit of gap between the two of them. So Logan Edwards, perhaps the undercut not the move, given how difficult it is to get the tires up to temperature.
Oh.
Right now, it seems Nate Siefker's going faster and faster.
And we've got unfortunate news. Byron Daly, black flag, likely a speeding penalty down the pit lane. It's going to take him out of contention for what might have been a top 5 run for him.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking news for the number 66 machine.
Such will hit the pit lane this time around. That'll put Fairburn back to second. Siefker and Falm alongside Gabriel Laselli in the last 3 cars that need to come down the pit lane.
Yes, it was not a speeding penalty for Daly. He went over the blend line on the exit, and so he got an exit violation. That's actually a issue that has befallen the likes of Peter Dempsey at Motegi.
Yeah, the blend line here is very, very long and rather difficult to navigate as it's on the outer edge of the track where you're not really used to driving under normal racing conditions, especially given that you're going to have cars blending in from the pit lane. Very, very tricky indeed, and unfortunate for Byron Daly to, have a solid stop. He came in right behind Barrett Wolf and ultimately not able to capitalize as he'll fall well behind now as he'll be battling Pedro Mojica for 9th.
Yes, that could have been a top 5 finish. He is kicking himself for that. Right now, Nate Seifert currently setting the pace at the front of the field, a 1:19.6 for Seifert. So he is trying to stretch his gap, possibly doing the overcut as Jeremy Fairburn is going to be rounding the final corner here. His first lap on new tires of 1:20.2. Logan Edwards running 1:19.9s. So his tires finally starting to come into their own, but that might be too little too late here because Seifert really starting to stretch out a gap.
Well, he still has to come down the pit lane as well. So that's going to be the question, is if can Logan Edwards get close enough where Seifert comes down, maybe comes out behind Edwards. We'll just have to see. As Seifert's been putting down screamer after screamer these last couple laps. Obviously, he's got the fastest lap of the race in that 1:19.357 from just a couple laps ago. And while we're kind of waiting for Seifert to peel down to the pit lane, which we imagine won't be for too long here, we'll thank series sponsors in VRS and the Sim Racing Warehouse. I'll let you know what wonderful things they've got going on. VRS helps sim racers get faster by providing cutting-edge software and high-performance hardware built with insights from both real-life racers and top sim racing professionals. Check them out at vrs.racing. Then you've got the Sim Racing Warehouse. If you're looking to save money with great prices and no sales tax, Sim Racing Warehouse is your US-based shop for all your needs. Plus, for a limited time, you can save 5% off with the coupon code capital SRW, lowercase house. That's all compacted as one word. In the coupon code section at checkout and save even more. Check them out at simracingwh.com. I believe there's a link in the description as well. Just a little over 8 minutes left to go. Seifert has a 20-second lead over Jeremy Fairburn in the second spot. Seifert still has to come down the pit lane, so he's trying to build this gap up to be able to come down the pit lane and maybe sneak up ahead or just behind the likes of a Jeremy Fairburn to close this one out.
Yes, he is hoping that by putting down those screamers, he can build up enough of a gap to overcut everyone. Dakota DeMage's bad night has gone worse. He spun off the final corner, hit the wall, and is in the pit lane, Jacob, for repair. So tough running for the two Uma Musume machines here tonight at MAGNY-COURS. Secrets around! The leader has spun!
That's not what he wants at all. He was getting a little slower the laps prior to that, picked it back up that time around, but must have pushed it just a little too hard through that chicane there, spins it. He's going to lose about 6 or 7 seconds to Jeremy Fairburn behind, and he's still got to make his pit stop, which will only put him down further on the timetable.
Yes, that is the exact opposite that Nate Seifert wants to see. Pushed it just too hard on those curves, trying to basically do nothing but qualifying laps, and there's only so much you can get away with that because every lap you're pushing the boundary, and he overstepped it.
A very, very tough break if that ultimately impacts his finishing result here, but he hangs on to it, kept it out of the walls, which is not the easiest thing to do, especially with how fast you can potentially spin one of these cars around and how close that inside wall is on the front straightaway. Fortunately, he got to the outside of it by that point. A little over 6 minutes now. He still has yet to stop. It's him and I believe Zach Falm, the front two runners that still have yet to pit, as well as Gabriel Lassellian down in 8th.
Yes, and Zach Falm went on an adventure on the exit of 3, and that has allowed Barrett Wolf to catch back up to him. Wolf has already made his pit stop, I believe, and got around Drew Such, and as well as Tommy Raval currently working on Drew Such, and Drew Such has a damaged front wing, so contact must have happened somewhere. Drew Such, kind of going through it, has had an up and down evening here in the Formula Super Series.
Yeah, we just saw Seifert come down the pit lane. Fairburn has taken the lead back. That gap's around 6 seconds between the two. And that's
Logan
about
Edwards
what he gave up through that spin.
Yeah, so he could have come out with the lead. Logan Edwards is about 3 seconds behind. And keep in mind, Nate Seifer has to get those tires up to temperature. Those Yokohama tires seem to take a little bit to come up the temperature. Logan Edwards just at his fastest lap of the race finally. So, curious to see if those two end up getting right back together.
We'll have to see as we've got just under 5 minutes remaining. We ride outboard with Seifer, who's come out the pit lane now. He's trying to get those tires up to temperature. Logan Edwards, 3 seconds adrift, looking to try to reel him back in, following an early pit stop for him. And we'll actually hop back to the battle between Drew Such and Tommy Ruval. Through that pit cycle, they've wound up right back on top of each other.
Yes, and Ruval has a clean car, whereas Such, as you can see, there has that wrinkled end plate on the one side of his wing. The Allen Berg racing school machine not feeling its best. He clouts the curb there and takes a defensive line, it seems, just to try and keep the amateur leader of Tommy Ruval behind him.
Yeah, what a debut it would be for Tommy Ruval if he can make his way back into that 5th spot. He's been having a solid battle all night long with Drew Such through the middle portion and later stages of this race here. We've just got a couple minutes left to go. All it could take is one perfectly timed pass as they're going to head down towards that Adelaide hairpin.
Yes, Ruval has a run, but he's on the wrong side of the track to really do it. Such goes deep on the brakes. Ruval has to take a compromised line, and so Such gets a better run off the corner. Just over 3 minutes left to go in this one here at MAGNY-COURS. It's been an up and down night for Eclipse because it's currently only Jeremy Fairburn that's holding the torch for them after contact and mishap, some of it between the teammates, some of it through their own doing. But Jeremy Fairburn still managing to make sure that it is an Eclipse car in the front of on the top step of the rostrum.
Yeah, he's pulled out to a little over 7.5 seconds, depending on where you catch these SF23s navigating the course. You got Logan Edwards, about 2 seconds adrift to Seifer now. He's closed that gap up, but I don't know if he's going to have enough time at this stage to reel Seifer all the way back on in, even in spite of Seifer's spin before his pit stop. It's going to come down to a tight battle now between, I believe that's going to be McComish Mojica and Gabriel Aselian.
And there's a move going on. Sorry, a move going on for the 5th place spot. Tommy Ruval goes around the outside of Drew Such before they even get to the Adelaide hairpin. So Ruval finally gets the move done. Move him up to 4th place. Not bad for an amateur, Jacob. Sorry to interrupt.
No, we're good. You got Ruval back through. I believe that was with the overtake system in play as he's been riding that button for a while now. He'll come off the 2nd hairpin here. I think he'll lose that system before the end of this straightaway here. That he does, I believe. No?
Yes,
Perhaps not.
It's now flashing red to me. He's only at 13, 12, 11. Oh, he is still on the button. He is using it for all it's worth, down to its final seconds there. He is out of overtake.
And that'll put potentially the advantage to Drew Such should he stay in contact. Such is going to get on the button this time around.
Yes, and he's got a whole 23 more seconds, and that he has 23 seconds, and that number is counting down. He runs wide, coming off the 3, has a huge head of steam. Ball looking to go defensive.
Don't think Such was close enough there.
No, and he's out of button now.
Yeah, so both these SF23s out of that overtake system power, and they're going to have to battle for it straight up here as we're navigating the final moments of the race here as we're going to get one more lap to go in just a moment's time as Jeremy Fairburn's approaching the finish or the start-finish line.
Yes, and white flag is in the air, so that 67 machine just has to do one more lap Nate Seifker has Logan Edwards just about a second and a half behind him, so he's likely to hold on to second place spot. Edwards fighting that Super Formula machine, trying to get every little bit of speed out of it that he can to try and make up what points he can, because his two main rivals for the championship, he's sitting third in points. Titus Sherlock out on the first lap, Michael Costello out just after the restart. So they won't be picking up any points, whereas Logan Edwards will have a third place position. But if I am Titus Sherlock, I'm probably buying Nate Seifert a drink next time around, assuming they're old enough to partake. Because he has held off Logan Edwards and lessened the impact that DNF will have.
Yeah, and Drew Such, Ruval going wheel to wheel through the Adelaide hairpin on the final lap here. This is the closest battle on the course, even still. They've been going at it all night long. Is Ruval going to be able to hold on to that fifth spot here on debut?
Such takes a look. He isn't quite able to do it. He'll have one more shot in the final sector, because there is one decent braking zone left.
We're going to get that run down to that very tricky set of right-handers before the final chicane here. Here he comes.
Yes, and Such does it. He gets on the inside there. Can he get the power down? No, he cannot. They bang wheels through the thing. Oh, Tony Reval. Oh, they collide over the lot line. Keep your foot in it, Tommy Reval.
Such will grab it 42 thousandths of a second across the line as they spin and collide into the inside wall. Byron Daly, McComish, Mojica, Zach Falm's going to come into the shot here in a moment's time. There he is in that pink machine. Gabriel Asselian will round out the 11 cars that remained on the lead lap here. Here he comes in that Williams-inspired livery to round out the lead lap starters. And boy, howdy, did we get ourselves quite the finish for that fifth place spot here at MAGNY-COURS.
Yes, we did, Jacob. What an astounding finish. I am out of breath, at a loss for words, what I have witnessed here tonight.
And as it is said, it only takes two to tango, and boy, did we have two tangos throughout the field here tonight. Let's get you a rundown of the finishing results here in their totality here from MAGNY-COURS. We'll start off with tonight's winner. That'll be none other than Jeremy Fairburn. He'll be the lone holdout at the front. 8.5 seconds over Nate Seifker in the second spot. Logan Edwards, about a second adrift. He closed that gap as best as he could, ultimately not able to do anything more with it. He'll round out the podium. Barrett Wolf will finish ahead of that outstanding battle between Drew Such and actually, hold on. Where'd Ruval end up? Oh, no! Did he hit the incident limit through that, perhaps?
I think he did. Because I see him in 11th. He is marked at the last car on the lead lap with 5 incident points. Possibly did he have a slowdown from cutting the chicane? He could have had a slowdown for how much he had to cut the chicane because of being alongside Such. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, unfortunate for Ruval. That'll drop him down the order. But we got Byron Daly, McComish, Mojica, Falm, and Asselian rounding out the top 10. That'll drop Ruval down to 11th, last car on the lead lap. Dakota DeMage, Kyle Allen, Nick Goyot, Costello, Claiborne, Schlosser, Tomba, DeFabis, Titus Sherlock, all out due to incident here from MAGNY-COURS. And goodness me, we've had ourselves quite the race here in round number 5 for the Formula Super Series.
Yes, it had everything. All of the chaos that we've come to expect. Massive incidents for everyone of our main title contenders other than Logan Edwards. The Eclipse car still in victory lane, but still a very surprising race with amateurs like Tommy Reval showing excellent pace. Unfortunately, not much to show for it due to that late race penalty.
Yeah, we'll start with Logan Edwards, who's waiting for us to get him on up here. We'll talk to him. Logan Edwards, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
I got you.
Well, it seems you were one of the biggest benefactors from the opening lap incident there. Were able to hold on, keep your car in one piece, and get a solid result here back up on the podium here from Magny-Cours. Kind of walk us through managing this race and what you had to do to navigate this very tricky track.
Uh, it's mostly just holding on. Passing was there's a lot of long straights, but if you just put your car on the inside, can't do anything with them. So I eventually pitted halfway through to try and get the undercut, then I spun, and if I could have had a first, and I should have had a second, but I come home third, so it's not a bad day for points because a lot of people who I was racing are completely out of commission for the race.
Yeah, we saw Nate Seifker go around before his pit stop as well, so that might have even given you an even closer footing, but very tricky track to get around. We saw a number of lockups, particularly heading up into that Adelaide hairpin. Number of cars going wide, kind of in the right-hander before the run down to the final couple of corners. Kind of walk us through maybe some of the adjustments you were making inside the car once the tires started to migrate around, maybe the marbles started to build up around this track to navigate this track in Magny-Cours.
The biggest change I made was just moving the brakes forward at the very start of the race and not like touching them. Usually, every time you get a setup, you want to move it back, but this is different. I felt like I had a little bit of late run rear locking on the default brake bias, so other than that, I didn't really change much. I just kind of held fast. Every time I made a mistake, I would go up a gear the next lap in the corner and see if that made me any faster. That seemed to help.
Certainly always adapting, always ever changing here in the Super Formula Machine. Sophie, you got anything for Logan tonight?
Well, Logan, obviously we saw all of the inter-team chaos between the Eclipse teammates. Did that change how you approached the feature race? You saw the contact that gave you P2 in the sprint, and then obviously during the main event, you had that contact. Was that were you trying to push a little too hard, and that's why you spun, trying to make up as much points as possible?
Yeah, I was just trying to take 110% of the track whenever if there wasn't, so ultimately, wish I could turn back time. I was screaming profanities whenever I spun because I kind of hate this track a lot, and that certainly didn't help my my opinion on it.
Well, despite maybe not liking the facility you took on tonight, you get a solid finish nonetheless here in round number 5 of the Formula Super Series. You know the drill, Logan. Friends, family, sponsors. Anybody you'd like to shout out? Floor is yours.
Shout out to Team I5G for bringing me on last week. Shout out to all my friends within the iRacing IndyCar community who are very supportive, keep me on track, keep me having fun, and shout out to P1 Broadcasting because y'all always put on an incredible show. And I think that's all.
Well, thank you, Logan, for joining us. I don't actually recall where we're heading off to next week. Sophie, do you recall where round number 6 is taking place?
I believe, Jacob, it is the wonderful circuit of the Red Bull Ring. We will be in the Styrian Mountains, taking on the host of the Austrian Grand Prix.
Well, that'll certainly.
All right, well,
Go ahead, Logan.
I'll see you there. A track I actually like.
Well, there you go. We'll go from one maybe you don't like so much to one you like so much, and maybe you can pull out an even better result from there. We'll catch you next time, Logan.
Hope so. See ya.
That'll do it for third place finisher Logan Edwards. We'll bring up Nate Seifker, who I believe is this individual here. Get his car up on the screen. There's Nate. Nate Seifker, Sophie Connell, Jacob Collins, People Broadcasting. You got me?
Yes, I do got you guys.
Well, I think this is the first time we've had you up on the podium this season. It was quite the stalwart performance for you here, staying up near the front of the field. Once things got rolling after the safety car restart, obviously we saw your spin before your pit stop here, but ultimately we're able to hold and manage that gap back to Logan Edwards in the closing stages. Kind of walk us through some of the things you were tackling around here in Magny-Cours.
Yeah, that spin was really frustrating. That first stint was keeping the gap at 2 seconds. Jeremy and Logan were all like neck and neck, and so it was basically just managing that gap. back to Logan, but not letting Jeremy get away. And then I was surprised when Logan pitted. I was like, oh, that's not that. I understood why he pitted. We had lap traffic that got in our way. And then when Jeremy pitted, I was surprised by that. So I just started pumping in, quicker laps. And I think take out the spin. I think I'm close to him on pit exit if I did my math right. I don't think I would have with the tire advantage. I think he would have still had me there, and I think he would have pulled out at least a second. But that's what it is. I'm made a pretty good start there in the feature. The sprint, I should have definitely been in the top 10. I drove off the track like an idiot because I couldn't see there 4 wide in front of me. So I just drove off the track and turned 1. And that's what put me back to P17, whatever. So take out that. I'm in the top 10 for the sprint, and maybe would have been caught up maybe in that mess into the hairpin. I just stayed to the right and saw everyone crash to the left of me. And so I was like, okay, that's cool with me.
Yeah, certainly always good to be able to capitalize on others' misfortunes when you can. Kind of walk us through maybe how you had to regroup following some of the errors you made throughout the night, maybe in your opinion. Certainly going to be one of those things that everybody was challenged by this track and by each other around it all night long. And it seemed like it was a very action-packed event, particularly through that hairpin each and every lap, and maybe some of the things you were doing to tackle that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, once I got going into the rhythm, it's actually quite fun. You can actually get a lot of lap time that way. So, I was actually quite fun to get into the rhythm. The spin there was just purely because I was a little greedy. I was purple. I was going to pit maybe that lap when I started it. And then when I saw purple on the sectors, I was like, well, we might as well keep going and finish the lap out. And that's what my greediness caught me out there, unfortunately. So, it was a little difficult to get back into the rhythm after that. Wasn't too terrible. But that's just how it goes sometimes. I've been doing this long enough to know, you win some, you lose some. It was good to be in a rhythm tonight. Usually it's difficult for me to get into the rhythm, but once I found it, it was pretty easy to stay there. And then the spin knocked me off a little bit, but that's how racing goes. The next couple tracks we go to should be really, those are more my bread and butter tracks, so we should be pretty decent coming up to those tracks.
Yeah, certainly going to be a change of pace going from here to the likes of the Red Bull Ring next time out. Sophie, you got anything for Nate tonight?
Well, Nate, obviously the season did not get off to a good start for you. I believe you had some tough luck at Miami and a few of these other tracks. How much does having a really good run like this, where you set fast lap after fast lap, led a decent chunk of the race, and a real good shot at it, how much does this mean to you?
I mean, it makes you feel like you actually can do it again. When you're a previous champion in the league, you think, oh, it's so easy. And I've said it before in other broadcasts with the league and etc. You get a lot of these you guys coming in, and they're so much quick. They're so quick. It's actually incredible how quick they are. And it kind of makes you think, oh gosh, I'm slow and old, and I'm only 26, and it feels that way. So having nights like this does help. Nights like this aren't going to be every night, though. You do have to take it in stride, and really, analyze what you did good. Just figure out the pros and cons. Take the pros, build on them. Take the cons and analyze them so that they don't continue to be cons. That's pretty much the gist of it. And look forward to the Red Bull Ring. The Indianapolis Grand Prix is my favorite track in iRacing. It used to be where I was the quickest. Now I got to do some homework there, but we should do quite well the rest of the season.
Well, put me down for old and slow at 26, but it's P2 for the number 2 tonight, Nate Siefker. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to shout out, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank Team Watson Racing. They're a great support group, great group of individuals there. Team Watson Racing setups as well. I want to thank the Malamo guys for housing me tonight. They're pretty fun to hang out with. Want to thank all the admins of the league that are behind closed doors. They do a fantastic job with everything. Want to thank you guys for broadcasting. It's a big investment of your time to do this. So thank you. If this is the one shot I got this year to talk to you guys, thank you guys for doing it. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't have any personal sponsors now anymore. So that's it.
Well, thank you for joining us here, Nate. We'll hopefully catch you back up on the podium next time out at the Red Bull Ring.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
That'll do it for P2 in Nate Siefker, and we'll bring up man of the hour, or man of the hours, at the stage we might be at now. That'll be none other than Jeremy Fairburn. Jeremy, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcast. You got us?
Yes, how you doing?
Well, you're back up on the podium again, this time on the top step. I think you've won another one of these before, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Quite the night for you. You kind of survived as one of the lone Eclipse cars to make it through the opening lap of the main event, and then after the safety car restart, you worked your way very quickly to the point of the field and never really looked back at any stage of this race. Kind of walk us through having to keep your head down amongst all the chaos early in the going here.
Yeah, it was a hectic one for sure. My first FSS win, so I'm just very happy to bring it home. I've won an FIS, but not an FSS yet until today. So, yeah, very happy about that. Yeah, I mean, after the first 5 laps, everything sort of fell into place, and I was just like, holy crap, I'm in a spot to win this. So, just had to keep my head down, minimize the mistakes, and just focus forward.
Yeah, we certainly saw a number of mistakes catch a number of drivers out, even past the opening stages. I think just about everybody in the field either had an off or a spin somewhere throughout this very tricky track in MAGNY-COURS, particularly going off into that Adelaide hairpin. That seemed to be the action zone on the track. Maybe something you saw early on in the going in the main event, but even in the sprint. Kind of walk us through what it was like having to navigate those very, very tight quarters as the cars close in on each other very quickly here.
Yeah, it's a tricky track, especially when it comes to tight racing like that. I just sort of learned from what other drivers were doing. I almost made the same mistake that Michael made, unfortunately, in the sprint, where I just barely caught it. I thought I was done for. I thought I was spinning, but I just barely caught it, and I still brought it home P3 in the sprint. Big sorry to Mike. We had some contact there. That was totally my fault. But yeah, just minimizing mistakes is what got me the win today.
And that certainly seems to be always a thing to keep in the back of your head in racing, is minimizing those mistakes. Sophie, what do you got for Jeremy tonight?
Well, Jeremy, during the sprint race, Titus seemed to be on a completely different playing field, really, compared to everyone else. And then, of course, he was out in that opening lap chaos. Did he or any of your other teammates pass on any assistance to you to help make sure that there's at least an Eclipse car on the top step of the rostrum?
Nothing much more than just pit stop management and push to pass management. But no, yeah, he was absolutely rapid in the sprint race, and I was just overdriving a bit too much. I calmed that down in the feature race, but yeah, that's really about it.
We'll put you on the top step here in the main event from MAGNY-COURS. Your first win in the Formula Super Series. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to shout out? Jeremy, floor is yours.
Yeah, just a big thanks to the Eclipse boys. It's always fun doing this with them, and I'm grateful that they continue to have me.
And we'll thank you for joining us up here on the podium. We'll catch you next time out as we take on the Red Bull Ring.
Thanks, guys.
That'll do it for Jeremy Fairburn here from MAGNY-COURS. And Sophie, that was quite the multifaceted event, if I say so myself. We saw action throughout the field, even with all the chaos going on, including that final corner, final straight crash between the two drivers of Such and Ruval, as Ruval was looking to hang on to the top 5 as the lone AM still running at that stage of the race. What do you think we got out of this one tonight as we head off into that all-famous Red Bull Ring?
Well, it started with argy-bargy into the Adelaide hairpin, where the two Eclipse teammates came to blows, and then it ended with an absolute stormer of a finish for the 5th place spot between Such and Raval. Tough break for Raval, with the penalty knocking him down to, I believe, 11th in the final standings of the race. An excellent drive for him that just doesn't have the results to show for it. But again, an excellent showing from the Eclipse driver of Jeremy Fairburn, and a consistent run from Logan Edwards. All in all, an excellent race, and I can't wait to be back here for the next round at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, the Red Bull Ring will be much a high-speed, high-octane track that we've seen time and time again in real-world competition, of course, in Formula One, playing host to that Austrian Grand Prix. And we'll thank everybody for tuning in for the 5th round of the Formula Super Series and hope everybody's looking forward to the next one in that iconic track. We'll thank series sponsors in the Sim Racing Warehouse and VRS one more time. You can check them out in the description below. And we will catch you at the next round when we do, I believe in 1 week's time. Have a good night, everybody. We'll catch you on the track.